The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar will focus on the weather features that have been added to the Surety and Surety Pro programs. Today's webinar, probably a half an hour or less, due to number of people in the webinar and keeping this a little bit shorter. We'll take any questions offline. So if you have any questions, please hold them for later and then send them to me at the email on the screen. I'll put this up at the end of the webinar also. This webinar will be recorded and an email will go out within the next 24 hours notifying you where you can find a copy of that webinar on our YouTube channel, and also contact information if you have any further questions. Again, today's webinar will feature our weather information, including the weather outlook form, the Get Weather button within some of our application forms, and the hail layer. So with that, well, let's begin. I will be using Surety Pro to demonstrate this. For those that just have Surety, everything will primarily be, everything will be the same as far as the weather information. So keep that in mind. So we'll begin with the weather outlook form. So we've added the weather just recently in the last few months, and we will continue to add more features with regard to the weather. Our weather information is being provided from DTN. Many of you are probably familiar with DTN, and they've been providing weather for decades. We selected the DTN weather product because we believe it is the most accurate and most access of the data systems, weather data systems. The weather is all modeled to what's called a 1 kilometer model, so then we can give forecasts and outlooks at the field level. So let's look at the weather outlook. So to access the weather outlook form, you have to, like most forms, you have to create a boundary or select a boundary. You can either draw a boundary or select from your FSA fields. I'm just going to go and select a boundary that I have stored here. Now we're going to work someplace where we can actually get some not necessarily normal conditions for, let's say, if you're doing spraying, but at least some variation, some in what we're looking at. So we're going to work in Florida. Okay, once you have your field drawn or selected, go ahead and click the weather outlook form. It is located in your forms and maps list over here on the right. When you click that, you'll open up a new tab or new window, and you'll see the form itself. And now, before we get started, if you do not see this information on the right of the form, the refresh weather outlook, start day, days to show, and then the other mapping options, you have your Surety program set to open up forms and maps directly to a PDF. With that in mind, you wouldn't be able to access these features. So to change that, come back to your main screen, go to Tools, Options page, and within the printing options, within this red box, you click Print Maps from a web page. Now, if you say, "Oh, I want to print straight to a PDF," you only are you have one extra step to work with in this case. So it's not really much extra work to get your maps for printing or creating PDFs. Once you have done that, make sure you hit save. Okay, now let's go back, and again, let's open up that Weather Outlook form. You should have these buttons on the side. So the Weather Outlook form is the ability to give you not necessarily past information. We do can give you the past, I believe, up to 10 days worth of weather information. It's not really for history. It is basically to look out into the forecast to help make decisions, agronomic decisions, be it spraying or harvesting or what have you. So we built the form to allow you to do that. And of course, we built the form to allow different parameters to be set to help you see when times are available for you to do your work that fits parameters such as temperature, wind, rainfall, things of that nature. So this is the Weather Outlook form. We'll start within the form here. If you are running Surety Pro, your client farm field information will be in here. If not, if you're not, you're just running Surety, this information will be blank. We'll have your acres, the state within which your field is located, the county, the location if there's a public land survey available, the township name if it's available, and of course your map center and lat long. Below that, first we'll have the thresholds. We'll come back to that. Everything we give you the ability to set a threshold form, set your parameters, so you could have for ability to quickly pick a threshold and set it for different types of spraying modes or harvesting or what have you, so that you can set the parameters separately for different thresholds. You can also set the parameters as you need them without once the threshold is selected, so you can make changes to the Outlook form as you see fit. We have temperature, wind parameters. Here's the preset parameters. We can set a rain-free forecast period, consecutive clear hours, and what we mean by clear here is not the sky. We mean that there are none of these parameters. All these parameters are being met favorably. We can show degrees in the wind heading if, for those that are interested, probably more likely your aerial applicators are interested in seeing the degrees and wind heading. We do have a temperature inversion risk model. I won't go into details about that, but what it is doesn't mean when you have that selected and it shows that temperature inversion risk. What that means is that it's favorable for an inversion based on set parameters. That does not mean that you will have one. It's just to remind you that it's possible to have an inversion with the way the wind and temperature and everything is set. And then you can also just get daytime only, which is probably something most of you probably would just be interested in anyway. But there might be some spraying at night, and you want to see forecasts in the evening. And then there's the start date and end date based on some of these parameters that we have set. So when you open it first time, there'll be two default thresholds. I believe it defaults to this one here, default spraying. We kind of just set, excuse me, some parameters up to get you going. We also have another default threshold, which basically opens up the parameters and basically doesn't set any parameters. So it just kind of gives you the forecast. Let's look at the table below and look at some of the information in there. So what we do is we have the individual date, and we give you summaries. We give you high, low, average wind speed for the day, relative humidity differences, high and low, relative cloud cover for the day. Then we break it down by the hour. So if I don't have this set to daytime only, so this will show a 24-hour period. So we start today at 12 a.m. We give you the parameters for that. Right now, if you notice, I have it set in this field in Florida. That's why you see a little bit of time difference there in Eastern time. We have observed weather data, and that's based on when the form was open, and then forecast weather data. So if you start by just saying start today, it's going to show everything for that day. So you can see each hour then has parameters based on that. We have a summary. This is the time, the temperature at that time, observed or forecast, the wind, and we have arrow direction. I have the show degrees and wind heading set, so it'll give a worded description. In this case, southwest, 192 degrees. The wind from 192 degrees at 10 miles per hour, gusting to 10. So any gusts forecast will be after the mile per hour setting. Next, we'll have precept, and let's go down here a little bit. As you saw, open the next day. We open the current day that you have selected. To get to the next day, you'll hit the little plus sign next to the date. You can close it back down, but you just hit the little plus sign. It'll expand the next day, and this will move into the next page of the form. And so you'll be able to see all days available that way. Precept, it's percent chance of precip for that hour. We got relative humidity and cloud cover. We don't clear it as partly cloudy. We just actually put the percentage of cloud cover because everybody kind of interprets that a little differently. And then, of course, the dew point. Color codes. If it's green, it means it's clear. If you do see a caution, and basically the only caution we have where you can set that is under the precept, and then warning, which means it's outside your favorable parameters. And this square next to the day means that any time during the day something has not met your criteria, it will show that color, and then each individual hour. So what are some of the things you can set? Of course, temperature. On this case, I have a default, but you can come in and set the min max. If you need to worry about a minimum temperature, that is, but we do have that capability to set a minimum and then a maximum temperature. So in this case, it'll show either you're clear and you fall within this parameter, or you are below the minimum or above the max, and it will give you a warning. As you see here, I set the temperature and it reached above 75, so we got a red marker there, or a warning. So wind, we also do that. I'm sure there's, I'm not offhand, can't think of any reason why you would need to see a wind speed below a certain level, but if you do, you might run into that. You can set that. Usually you'll have it set to 0, and then of course the max. So anytime over a certain wind speed, it's going to show up in the map as red. And then of course, if you fall within the wind or right on the threshold, it's going to show it up as yellow. In this case, we had gusts, and that gave you a caution on that. The wind speed met the parameter, but we did have some gust over the parameter. So you can set those. Precipitation, we have 3 levels. So you can set your precipitation or the percentage. So clear, anything at 0 to 20%, you would clear. For example, in this case, I'll set anything 20 to 40 as a caution, and anything over 40 as a warning. So let's find precipitation here. And here we go. Here we have a precipitation of 29%. So we get a caution, 37%. So we haven't had anything over 40. That would show up as red. And those are the parameters you can set within as far as actual temperature degrees, wind speed, and gusts, and precipitation percent. Now we do have a couple others you can set, and one is rain-free forecast period. So you can set a rain-free forecast period. Let's say it's got to be rain-free for, let's say, 5 hours. No rain is available, and it'll check through everything. And if that is met, it'll stay green. But if it's not met, it'll start to, see, I had precip here somewhere. Oh, here we go, Wednesday, sorry. And they'll start ahead of time. So it's going to show, it's going to throw caution on that because within a 5-hour period before the rain, in this case, you see these for 5 hours before it reaches a percentage that above your threshold or any of your thresholds, it's going to show you. So it marks these as yellow for caution because within 5 hours of these set times, there's a possibility of a percent that goes above your threshold. So if we set that to 7, or if we set that to 3, for example, and we go into Wednesday again and look at that precip, you'll see that it was 3 hours before, and it'll tell you when that precip will happen. So you can set your rain free, and then consecutive clear hours. And what this means, clear, again, does not mean sky. It means clear sky. It means clear from any caution or warning forecasts. So if you put in 3, it'll look throughout the days and see when you have consecutive hours of clear, and it'll give you for that day, it'll let you know. So this day it's saying that you do have some time periods where it's going to be clear within that consecutive clear hours. And Wednesday, again, clear. Thursday, not, because we have no period. We only have one period where we do not meet our, well, actually 2. We got 12 a.m., midnight, and then at 6 p.m. It's only time periods that we do not have a caution or a warning, and so it's going to show up as red underneath the day because we do not meet the criteria of consecutive clear hours. Again, if we set that back to 0, you can see now Thursday is green because we do have 0 hours. We got 1 hour here, an hour here. So that'll kind of, if you're looking multiple days out, just kind of see the daytime and say, okay, this day has a clear period of consecutive clear hours. Again, you can show degrees in the wind heading or not. Again, you can turn on if you have a temperature inversion risk, or if you click daytime, it's only going to show you based on sunrise, sunset. It's going to show you hours within that time period. So in case of this field here in Florida, it starts at 6 a.m., goes to 6 p.m. And again, this is based on sunset. Sunrise will not be a set from 6 to 6 all the time. It'll vary depending on how much sunlight you have or your sunrise, sunset time periods. So let's look at setting, let's look at these things over here that we have. So here you can refresh the weather. Again, from here you see there's also sometimes ends up a refresh underneath where your date is here. You can refresh, sometimes it automatically refreshes. You can pick your start day. So we have 3 days ago, 2 days ago, yesterday, today, now, tomorrow, 2 days ahead, 3 days ahead. So let's just, if you pick now, oh, I'm sorry, we got some way. We have a little bug there. Let's start out here again. Shouldn't do that. Let's go now. So it's going to start from the current time. Oh, no, okay. It did not do what it's supposed to do here. It's supposed to start at 12 p.m. So we'll have to take a look at that. But anyway, you can pick your we're having a little trouble with that one right now. I'm not sure why. Maybe it has something to do with my thresholds. You can go to days to show and go out to 5 days. So here we've gone 5 days. Let me pick default spraying. And now let's pick 5 days. Okay, now I'll have 5 days out, and it's going to use these parameters now to color code 5 days out. Again, you could save this as a PDF. So depending on pages you need to have, it'll should give you all the information you need so you can print that out. So setting thresholds, let's say, so first thing we do is come in and I would set your information. So let's set some data here. Let's go 50, 70, wind speed, 12, let's go 25. I'm just throwing some numbers in here. And we want rain free forecast 5 hours. Consecutive clear hours. We'll leave that. Daytime only. And we want 5-day forecast. Okay, now we can come up. We can create a new threshold. And as you can see, you can. Oh, I apologize. You have to. That was my mistake. You can change things there, but when you create your threshold, so you give it a name, whatever name you want. You set your thresholds here. Minimum temperature is really not that important. Maximum 85, wind speed 10. We'll leave that. Daytime only, and then we can go 3 days ahead. Oh wait, we'll start today. And what we'll do is we'll go 5 days ahead. Now you'll just hit save. Now this is the threshold. So if you want that as your default, you could select it as a default or just leave the default the way it is. So then when you open up the form, it'll go to your default threshold. You can come in and pick the threshold you've created, and it will use your parameters to create it. So you could create multiple thresholds for different chemicals or different operations. So that's the weather outlook page. We do have documentation on that. If you have more questions, feel free to give us a call or send us an email or myself an email, and we're glad to walk through this a little bit more. Let's move on and let's look at the Get Weather button within the forms. Again, we'll have to have a field selected here. Let's look at the field, and it's available in several of our chemical application forms for now. You can use the aerial with GPA, or let's just look at the chemical form here. You'll see down below, again, you have to be able to see these menus on the right. So if you want to change that, you see the Get Weather button. So as we come in here, we'll put a date of application, 25th, start time. Let's see, I gotta remember how these are taped in. End time, 10 a.m. And then you hit get weather, and it will fill in weather temperature. It'll fill in skies, wind speed, wind direction. Now we're also looking at adding some other things. If you want to add humidity and things of that nature, we plan on doing that. So anytime we have an application, start and end time. We are looking at possibly adding the capability of putting in the start temp and temp, or maybe if I know some states with some regulations, such as with dicamba, maybe you need to have the start, middle, and end time. If you're running in those cases and you need those things, please give us a call so that we can create the information you need to help you out in that. So this is available, most forms, and you can, when you get weather, it's based on the end time. Now let's do a quick review of the hail layer. So I'm going to clear my fields out here. We're going back to the US here. So if you go under layers over here on the right and you scroll down under, way at the bottom, you'll see other. It'll have a little plus sign in most cases beside. Either click on other or click the plus sign. It'll expand it out and give you some more options. Now under other, we have what we call a hail layer. It's called hail, and it'll have the have yesterday's date. So let's click that on. And so basically it says this map is showing, here's the legend. It's going to show you where it hail between 12 a.m. to basically 12 midnight last night on the 25th, and we'll color code. So let's zoom in, and this is available across the whole US. And so as you zoom in, it's going to give you a color code, and we give different meanings. So if what likely, severe, extreme, it's based on what a lot of the insurance agencies and a lot of the weather forecasters use to explain hail severity. So you can see in this area here we have had hail, and so it'll give you an idea of possibly where hail has been. Now we also, if you have an individual, okay, let me go back to that hail layer again. What you can do, we can create a hail report, and basically it's based on the area that you're zoomed to. And it's taking a little time here gathering data. So based on the map window that you saw, it's going to create a hail report for you of that area. So you don't have to have a field selected to create a hail report. But what we've done also with the hail layer is if you do pick a field, okay, if you do pick a field, we do have a hail history map. And so if you click that field, click the hail history map, what it's going to do, we'll have to pick 2020 here, it's going to show you all dates that had any hail indication on that individual field, and it's going to give you information down below the legend. So you can go 2020, 2019, 2018, so on and so forth. And you can get a hail report on that field. And just to mention, I going back here to the hail layer itself, when you turn that on, you can come back and pick dates. And right now we go all the way back. We have last 2020, and so we'll keep the last year until the 2021 is filled. To go back further, well, I believe this is based on when we have access to new new hail client. So we should be keeping that information or allow you to access going further from here on out. So again, you can access hail on any day of the year for that main layer. So that's a hail layer. You can set up hail notification. I'm not going to go through that right now. It takes a little time. So if you're interested in set up hail notifications, there's a possibility to do that. I would come into the help and I would go into our support documentation and just type in hail. Hit enter or click the little arrows right there. You can also enter right here. Give it a little time because it's searching our database. And you'll come up with different things. You got hail layer and hail reports. Let's go through what we just went through. Hail probability email notifications. So if you're interested in that, you can, and you can set up hail notifications for your organization if you wish. So you can see there's a little bit of work to go through on that. But once you have them set up, then you can receive an email report of fields that have possibly had hail based on your criteria. Again, you can give us a call. We can help you with that. So that's basically I have today. We went through the weather information. Again, we will always look for feedback on this as a new feature. We want to make sure that you're aware of it. And we're always looking for feedback on weather information. That's how we build a good product, is knowing what our customers really want to see from that information. Also this, or if you need possibly the possibility of some custom forms that could be possibly put together for you. With that, I thank you and have a good day.